and we're not done yet.
Outside, prep it. Old stuff comes off. I take a wire brush to the whole channel, and then put some more cement in there.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're here today with Jason of Chimney Technologies. We're doing a ride along. He's explained to us what it's like to be a chimney maintenance and service technician, also known as a chimney sweep. And I guess they still use that term back east, but not out here on the west coast so much. But anyway, we're going to talk with him, and it should be an interesting video. So thanks for watching.
I don't know that he would. He's the gas guy.
Oh.
For our first stop for the day, Jason was called in to check out the flue on this gas stove. It was reported that there were bats found in the stove and the stove wasn't working. Suspicions are that this flue was blocked by bat guano, and he was called in to check out the entire flue all the way up to the roof and see what's going on with it.
Some of the work needing to be done. And then what did you say about yours or your wife's availability if I gotta come back when the roof is on?
She's on her way right now. I think she's done for the day.
Okay. That stuff shouldn't be happening with that kind of cap on top. So I'm wondering, I can't remember if landlord thought something else was here way back when, or... There we go, that's what I want. I'm probably going to recommend that the landlord have the gas guy come back out after all this junk is out of the way. Because it's probably, I mean, the buildup goes all the way into here. So it's going to run different, and if the air-fuel mixture isn't right, then it's just going to keep setting up. Somebody who knew enough to be dangerous kept on adjusting it past where it was, but you're saying it soots up in about 2 hours. That shouldn't be happening. Gas stuff needs service maybe once a decade. So when there's soot, that's not a natural thing for a gas system.
Yeah.
That's common in wood burning, but these are way more. This whole thing is really just supposed to be venting fumes and gases.
Yep.
There's almost no solids that should be going through there. So,
and like I said, there were 10 bats inside the unit.
Yeah, once they get down, they can't go up, so they just keep working their way through. And so did gas guy have this off?
No.
Okay. So he found them all the way down in there. There's no way to know how long those bats have been there. It's 10 bats. You know, I mean, it's a common cap with an uncommon problem. Like this.
So we've got a bit of a mystery here in that we don't know how or why the bats are getting in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and a gas system shouldn't accumulate carbon, soot, anywhere near what this one has. So we might just be resetting the clock, or well, we're gonna at least do that much. It could just be years and years and years of non-maintenance, or the fuel air rate might be off.
Hey everybody, if you like content like this, could I get you to subscribe and like and leave a comment? Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. And again, thanks for watching. So Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this business?
Kind of tripped into it. I've been in the state for 16 years, and I tell people the governor and I just disagreed on one too many things. Then from there, I tried a couple new things on for size, that weren't a perfect fit, and knew the old owner of the company, this company, from church, and we started talking, and he'd been looking for about 2 years for somebody to take over for him. No one in his family was wanting or in the position to continue the tradition, but he wanted it to stay a family-owned company if possible. His biggest concern in retiring was who was going to take care of the people. So he and I talked. I wanted something completely new and different. I knew if I didn't retire from the state, I'd probably be doing something physical. I didn't know it was going to be filthy and physical. But I worked with him for a few months. I felt like it was a fit for me. He felt like I was a fit for the company values and traditions. And my wife and I took it over the beginning of, I guess it'd be 2023. We've been at it for a little over 2 years. The reception has been great. Almost all of the annual customers that the old owner had from before continued to schedule with us for the last 2 years into this year. We probably have 400 to 500 pre-scheduled services between April and August. And this is January. It's supposed to be the slow time, but this is kind of when complicated stuff comes up. Everybody, I say April to August is the squirrels that put their nuts away for winter, and then September to December are those of us that the season just kind of crept up on. And then you get into January and February, and it's the people that it's either a backup heat source and they don't fire it up very often and find out that they have a problem, or it's been maintained already and something quirky came up over the over the early burn season. So, like, for instance, our first appointment this morning was a gas system, which it's really the gas part is outside my arena, but they felt like there was an obstruction in the vent, which, they started burning. It didn't work right. You get on somebody's call list and you got to wait a month for them to come out. And then you realize there's a problem that's going to take some head scratching and like a real solution. I don't know. I'm babbling now.
Okay, so how much of your business would you say is maintenance on the chimney structure versus maintenance on an appliance?
They kind of go hand in hand for us. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but it's pretty common to get a call from somebody that they'll ask, "Do I have to be home for you to sweep the chimney?" And the answer is no. I'll do whatever you want me to do, but everything I sweep down from the chimney ends up somewhere. So that's where the maintenance on the appliance comes in. The most common in EPA certified era, where things have baffles and air tubes, and it's not just a steel or a cast iron firebox anymore. All that soot comes down on top of the baffle, and if we don't pull that baffle out or get above it, then it obstructs the smoke flow going forward. In some ways, depending on how much soot and creosote got pushed out of somebody's chimney, they could end up in a worse situation if it doesn't get cleaned out of the bottom. So for us, the tradition has always been, and I've chosen to maintain it, that we clean from the door to the cap. And depending on seasonal restrictions and people's roof types and stuff, rooftop inspection is always preferred when safe and practical. But we get most of them, 90% of them are, the stove is cleaned through, the chimney's cleaned through the stove, depending on how it's put together and how it has to be disassembled. The chimney structures themselves don't do a whole lot with those, maybe 1-2%, where somebody either needs a chimney extended to meet code, the 3-2-10 rule, or somebody's chimney is too tall and it needs to be attached to the roof. Done a couple of those. Most of it's maintenance, some problem solving. Probably the second best thing for people to know, other than it helps if you're home to let me in the house to clean out what I sweep out of the chimney. Pellet stoves. There's a belief that they don't need to be maintained, when I would say at least 9 out of 10 misbehaving pellet stoves are just the product of ash buildup and going a few years or several without a checkup. The vacuum has the most suction without having to take it outside to clean it out.
What do you mean, all the vertical stuff?
So everything that's and this is gas system, wood system, all this soot, sometimes there's fly ash. There are things that are light enough to try to go out with the smoke, but they're too heavy to make it all the way. Well, they're light enough that if I knock them out of the pipe without a good suction, they're gonna try and waft around out here. So I clean from the top to the bottom, because this is gonna be the heaviest stuff that's less likely to get everywhere. That stuff, if I don't have a great suction and I get a whoosh out here, then I'm dusting the people's whole house.
Okay. So, if I was a young kid right out of high school, what would you recommend if I wanted to get interested in this? How I would go about that?
Find a local company, particularly one that has good reviews or good word of mouth or good reputation. Just ask them. Like right now, this company is kind of a one-man show with my wife helping me when volume goes through the roof. But there are bigger companies that have crews, they have apprentices. It's a trade. All the trades are retiring faster than they can be replaced. And just finding a company, let alone a reputable company, can be challenging depending on the area somebody lives in. Especially in maybe through like the Midwest where wood burning systems are probably popular, but not as dense as we are here in Northwest Washington. I can spend all day in one neighborhood sometimes. So yeah, just partnering up with somebody that knows what they're doing, getting kind of the sea legs under you, put a few months in, and then go get certified. There's two main certifications that are nationally recognized: the Chimney Safety Institute of America and the National Fireplace Institute. Both worth looking up. Both have, I'm not sure about the NFI certification. My understanding is it's more for designers, installers, different tier up. Yeah, but CSIA has both butt in seat training and a correspondence test that you can take. There's like an online proctored way of making sure that somebody else isn't taking the test for you, I guess.
Are those certifications expensive? Or are they?
Depends on which way you go. If you study up and you know the rules and you take the proctor test, it's a few $100 every 3 years. I was new enough at this that I put myself in a classroom out in Indiana for a week, and between the airfare, the lodging, the class tuition, it was so beyond worth the money that we spent. It took what I thought I know and expanded it to where, for me, I always need to know that there's something else to learn. Otherwise, I tend to get too comfortable. So it told me that there is plenty of room to grow just within the wood and pellet stove burning arena. If I get into gas, it's going to be years away because I need to be an expert at what I'm doing first before I start taking on other things.
Okay, so what kind of personal traits or skills or just wherewithal should somebody have if they want to consider this? I mean, obviously you're on the roof. That's one element, but what other kind of traits?
I'd back it up even from there. The roof's an essential part of the job, but there are some companies that don't get on the roof. And the 3 tiers of NFPA inspections, the base level service, rooftop inspection isn't even required. I should say rarely is it required. But you gotta have integrity first. I mean, you're cleaning, somebody's trusting us to come over and clean a part of their house that they almost never see. Otherwise, they would be doing it themselves. So it'd be really easy to get in there and tell somebody, oh, it needs this. And, a few $1,000s later, somebody's replaced parts that didn't need to be replaced. On the other hand, maybe once a month, I get into somebody's system, typically when I'm able to get up on the top and look down, and I tell them flat out, you don't even need me. The National Fire Protection Association says that less than 1/8 of an inch of buildup, a cleaning is not required, but they do still recommend annual inspections. because we check for things that aren't exclusively related to using the system. Corrosion moves in, bird's nest move in. In one case, somebody's tree branch grew through their cap and they didn't know it until they went to light a fire. It backed up into the house. They called me over there, and well, the branch wasn't really a problem anymore because it had burned off. But heaven forbid a burning branch falls onto the roof. So just the integrity to tell somebody what is and isn't going on with their system. Not trying to. There's a lot of arenas where there's kind of a base service just to get in the door, and then once you're there, it's all about upselling. And I really don't like not being able to tell. There's some things that I encounter that I didn't expect to encounter, but there's, a lot of time from the ground, I'll tell somebody, if I get up on the roof and look down, this is what I could encounter, and this is plan A, B, or C, just so you don't think that, I'm going to talk you up on something that you might not need. So integrity for one, there's got to be a wherewithal for safety in general. The roof's part of it, but my first year, there was some stuff that kind of flew under my radar because I didn't know what I didn't know. And then I come back around the second year, and I was grateful to have an opportunity to make those systems better than they currently sat, either through age, something deteriorated that didn't instantly pop out at me, or in a couple of cases, things looked like they weren't even installed right in the beginning. So there's just got to be an ownership of, it can't be that's not my job situation. There are some things that I have to refer out because they're beyond my scope, or they're outside of my license or registration. But for the most part, there's at least conversation about it. I'm not just walking away from something like, I guess, for instance, getting up on a roof. If people were getting up on their roofs, if people were cleaning their chimneys, they get up on the roofs themselves. So I'm up there looking at flashing and brick condition, and if there's a soft spot in the roof, I tell the people, this isn't stuff that I can fix for you, but you should know that it's up there. So they at least know what's going on. At least one case, I told a customer last year that he had a soft spot in his roof. Come to find out that his roof had rotted, and he was $30,000 plus into a new roof, but thankfully it hadn't started working down into the walls and everything yet. So integrity, safety, and people are bringing you into their house. A lot of people offer me coffee or something to eat, and on some cases I'll take them up on the opportunity to use the bathroom. So they kind of become like family in a really short period of time, and I've got to treat their systems and their safety at least as well as I would my own, which I think goes in hand with integrity. But that commitment and integrity they're enmeshed with each other. Like you're calling me here to do more than the bare minimum, and
So you mentioned for your license. So the license is licensed for the business, not the individual. Correct?
Correct.
So, and what particular license do you have with, in this case, it would be the state of Washington?
So, in my understanding, I'm still learning things every day. Licensed, bonded, and insured, like we have a business license. We're signed up with the state. We're signed up with the Department of Revenue to report our tax intake and all that stuff. Insurance is liability insurance, and bonding, as I understand it, is kind of insuring the product or the services we deliver. And those are all broad kind of company umbrella things. Where it comes down to the individual is like that CSIA certification. That's specific to me. So like, as if the company grows, if we advertise ourselves as a CSIA certified company, then every team, every crew, every vehicle that shows up to do a service on somebody's house has to have at least one CSIA certified person on it. And then beyond that, we're registered with Washington State Labor and Industries as a specialty contractor specifically for chimney maintenance, and they have us under masonry, but the essence, there's like one guy in the whole state that you talk to figure out, if you're not a general contractor, what are you? And he said the essence of what we do is chimneys, so we're a masonry specialty contractor, even though I don't build things out of brick.
Yeah. Okay.
You hear grit and bits going through the hose.
So it's crustier in there than just soot. Yeah, so this is where the vapors and the soot, and when there's soot are drafting out, this is usually where it's drawing in its fresh air so that there's equal air pressure. And this is telling me that the pipe is corroded or compromised in some way. It's aluminum, it's hard to tell corrosion, at least for me. But that would explain why all this stuff, odds are the bats that were in here are probably also in here. So yeah, I gotta. I guess we'll do this now. And the bits that I was hearing go through the hose were probably metal. We can, when we take it outside, we can see how much stuff that's not soot is in there. This guy is the flue at the top of the cook stove, which I'll always check out the adjacent chimneys when I'm up on top of them. Nothing down there. Hasn't been used much or recently. And then this is the guy that we're after. The Bat Intrusion Central.
So is that liner aluminum or stainless?
Gas systems should have an aluminum liner. They kind of need to. Doesn't seem like the hardiest material, but if it was made out of steel, it'd corrode.
Oh.
And sometimes even aluminum corrodes.
So putting a new liner in, is that something you do? Some just flew out of there.
Do what?
Said something
well,
just
this
flew
should
out
be
of
a whole lot longer than it is. What'd you ask?
I said, is the liner something you would replace or?
Can. I would, if they can find a gas person to do it, I would prefer that. I have some latitudes with replacements when the system's already in place, but I'm not a registered installer, so it gets semantically creative. Well, if there was any question about the situation we're in, this piece should probably be about 20 feet long and require like several pulls to get it all the way out. And it definitely shouldn't look like that. So in these cases, at least for a wood burning system, where there's a concern of compromise or malfunction or failure, we would do a camera inspection. There's no pipe left to inspect. It's all just kind of collapsed in on itself from the top at least down the next 4 feet. So this would be, like I said, optimally this would be where a gas technician starts fishing the rest of it out from the bottom. Now I'm thinking my way through how to keep them from getting any more bats in the meantime. Realistically, I'm probably just going to put a plastic bag over this because I can't leave it reinstalled.
Yeah, they can't really use it at this point.
No, I'm not. The only reason well, with a plastic bag over this, I don't even have to put the pipe back on, because I don't want to leave anybody with the impression that even in an emergency that this is safe. They tell us not to use the word safe because we're making fire in indoor structures, or fire indoor in wooden structures. But they probably wouldn't even have like a chimney fire, which is what most people are concerned about. They'd probably have carbon monoxide backup and maybe not wake up in the morning. So this is what I was talking about when people ask me if they need to be home. If I were to brush this from the top down, there's a baffle in here that everything would be sitting on. In this case, there's at least a damper to let stuff fall through. Not all of them have that. So anything that has a solid baffle and no damper for creosote to pass through, it just builds up there. Fly ash is the other thing I was talking about where, and this is for you too. Stuff that, there's a lot of stuff that's light enough to go up with the smoke, but it's still too heavy to make it all the way out. So it just kind of falls back down right into here, which is one of the advantages of the damper. I've seen one case where it was a low pie stove. They didn't have a damper and he had smoke coming out of all the vents and everywhere, but not the pipe. Points toward a blockage here. What ended up happening was he burns a lot of paper products. And the fly ash built up here to where the smoke couldn't get past it anymore. So that air pressure increases, the smoke generates, and it's just gonna come out wherever it can.
So the purpose of the hose is to make it around the corner easier?
It's so that the rod isn't rubbing on the corner as it comes back through. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. In some extreme cases, the hose has helped turn a corner, but if I didn't use it, you would see a spiral pattern on here that's just taking a little bit of that nylon off every turn. Which is fine. If I got to replace a couple of these a year, we're good. If I got to fish one out of a chimney, we might not be.
Again, like you said before, you're going up all the way and cleaning from the top down.
Yep. The brush has a knob on the middle where all the threads come off of, and that plastic knob, you can feel, it feels different when you hit a cap versus an obstruction. It'll be kind of like a clink feel, not like you're bumping something. It's a firmer hit. And the top is always the dirtiest. I should say the top's usually the dirtiest.
Is there a lot of business in this arena? In this field?
There's, our home county, I think we're the only one operating out of Skagit County, but the way the counties are stacked along the I-5 corridor around here, Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish, there's a lot of bleed over. There's two outfits in neighboring Whatcom County to the north, and I know that at least one comes down our way, and I've interacted with him. I'm all about networking. Maybe this answers your question better. There's enough room, or there's enough work to go around. There doesn't need to be a rivalry. There doesn't need to be any animosity. In a lot of ways, as we're building the network and building the relationships, we're finding that we each kind of do something that the others don't or don't want to. Like I don't do brickwork, but I know a guy down in Marysville in Snohomish County, just south of us, that does great brickwork. He doesn't love pellet stoves, so he tends to point some things my way. Skagit County is in a really unique position to go north, south, and west to the San Juans, and today we're out on Whidbey Island. Not even counting to the east end of Skagit County, all the way up into the mountains if we need to. So I've got a great footprint where I'm not. The Bellingham guys are somewhat limited by the Canadian border. The Snohomish County service providers kind of start to bump up into a concentration of service providers down in King County, and I'm right in the middle of it, where even over here on Whitby, there's at least two service providers, and I try not to advertise in somebody else's neighborhood, but I go where people ask me to go. So, and if I'm not the right tool for the job, I'll tell them, hey, you got this company right down the street that might be able to get there faster, they might be able to get there cheaper, and like I said, there's plenty of business to go around, and I feel like it fuels the relationships when I'm not trying to undercut anybody and I'm actually willing to share.
Okay.
All that stuff I just kicked up is why I clean from the top down, because you can see it all going in instead of out.
Can you grab a little bit of that creosote so we can get a close-up of it?
That's considered stage 2 creosote. Stage 1 is the dusty stuff. It's really just the cost of doing business with woodwork. Stage 2 happens when it starts to get damp and it just turns into a crust. Stage 2 is usually easy to get out with this brush, or if I had to put some wire whips up there, it's brittle, there's enough flexion in the metal flue that it usually falls down. It's rare, but every once in a while, and in a metal flue, pretty commonly in masonry flues, there's something called stage 3 creosote. It's pitchy, it's tar, it's highly combustible, it's almost literally nightmare fuel. That can't be brushed out. At best, it might be able to be chain whipped, but there's always a risk of damage. You can't do a chain whip in a metal flue, and even in masonry, you could be uncovering damage that was already there or causing new damage to try and fix it. So usually if there's stage 3 creosote, this is one of the things that I refer out to the guy in Marysville is it's a chemical cleaning. It takes special tools. You got to go to the manufacturer, the company that makes it to get certified to even order it, that sort of stuff. But this is normal Northwest stuff.
And is there anything else you would want to encourage somebody to go into this field to say?
Try it out. I didn't know how much of a fit it was for me, and I'm totally honest. I'm upfront with the customer. If I was out here to make a fortune, I'd not like it. If I was just out here to clean chimneys and every house was empty every day, I would not like it. This is a conduit for me to meet people. I've been able to pray with people. When my wife and I took it over, we agreed that it couldn't just be a business. It had to be part ministry, and there are opportunities that I feel like God affords me to keep this a get-to-do job, not a gotta-do job. And when this idea first came up, when I first heard that the old owner was trying to sell his company, my wife asked me what I thought about that, and I said, I don't. Didn't even give two thoughts. I kept moving. And I was actively looking for what the next thing in my professional life was going to be. Didn't even consider it. And, over 2 years into it, the time has flown. Like I said, these people are like family. Here in April, I'll start the third round of going back to people's houses that I met for the first time 2 years ago. And, people text me throughout the year. I've got a few customers that they check in almost socially. Just, how are you? How are things? We're good. We don't need anything. Just wanted to say hi. So I can totally see where the old owner, after 33 years, didn't want to let those relationships go. And the first year or two, as people were calling, hey, what happened to Mark? And I said, well, he retired. And they said, well, thank him for everything he did for us over the years. And it's just, if you love people, I think you're going to love the work. And that goes hand in hand with the commitment to people. If it's just about getting dirty or making money, it's not going to be so much fun.
So it's going to be tight for a little bit. It's got to compress some. There's 3 areas in particular where it doesn't seat like the rest of it does.
Okay.
So it's like I'm muscling it pretty good, but that gives me a little, and we put a lock nut on, or a lock washer on this one. So that it should keep that nut from backing off.
Perfect.
You know, snug, don't reef on it, but as it compresses, this will settle back into like straight up and down. But there's 2 nuts on the bottom that hold the glass frame in, and then where it runs around here, it just sticks out a little bit different than the rest.
Okay.
But it'll compress, it'll get flat, and if it doesn't, call me back.
Oh, perfect. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna make noise one more time, and then I'm gonna get out of y'all's hair.
Pretty much do it for this one. Any last comments, Jason?
No, stay safe, stay warm. Call us if you have any questions or concerns.
All right, thanks for watching.